desperate to convince Will that Will needs Damon. Damon kisses Will. Hello everybody, not so long time no see this time. I am so excited to continue my recap of the Devil's Night series today, and we will be recapping book 3. Just a heads up, this book was 650 pages. I don't know why a romance book would ever be 650 pages, but this one was. So this is gonna be a pretty long recap because we have a lot to go over. Before we get started, I would like to address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that I have a bob now. I don't really know what to say. I went to the hairdresser and I said, hey girl, can I get my hair length, you know, just below the collarbone? And I walked out with a lob. So before we get started with book 3 in the Devil's Night series, just like with my other 2 recaps, I do want to always issue a trigger warning for the content in these books. It is a dark romance, so there is going to be some more sensitive topics that will be covered in the books. If you are interested in reading any of the books in the Devil's Night series, I strongly recommend that you head over to Penelope Douglas's website and check out her triggers that she lists in the description for each of her books. I have linked the triggers for this book in the description below. Also, before we get started, I do strongly recommend pausing this video and watching both my recaps on Corrupt and Hideaway if you haven't seen them already, because this book will be taking place right after the end of the events of Hideaway. All of the flashbacks in this book are from the same day as the flashbacks in Corrupt, so it would be helpful just to, you know, be up to date on both of those books before we head into this recap. I will just go through quickly the events of the end of Hideaway before we jump in. So the biggest plot points that we're gonna need for book 3 are that during her confrontation with Damon at the end of Hideaway, Damon tells Rika something that seems to shock her, and then during a Devil's Night house fire, Damon actually saves Rika's life. Instead of calling the police and having Damon arrested and handing him over, Rika lets Damon leave, and so Damon vanishes again. Just a fun fact, like I've said before, I've read this series before. It has been many years since I read this series. I do remember that book 3 was my favorite out of the entire series and book 2 was my least favorite. So I'm interested to see if my opinion still holds up, because it definitely did for book 2. I thought book 2 was so bad. And so I was really excited to get back into this book because I remembered really loving it. So I'm excited to see if it holds up. And lastly, I just want to thank everybody so much for tuning into this video and for the positive feedback on my Hideaway video. I really love being able to do these. So I'm just so grateful to anybody that's watching. So I just want to say thank you. So without further ado, let's get into book 3 of the Devil's Night series, which is Kill Switch. Our book kicks off in our FMC Winter's POV, and this is a flashback when she is 8 years old. She is at a party where she overhears a man yelling at his son through the door, and he's yelling at him because he thinks that his son is like an unfit heir to run their family business. Winter is about to run from where she's eavesdropping, but before she can, the man storms out of the room and spots her. When she sees him come out, she realizes that this man is Damon's father, Gabriel. We are not going to be able to escape Gabriel anytime soon. We were very acquainted with him in Hideaway, and we are stuck with him for Kill Switch. He's a little bit creepy to her when she asks him if he's seen her mother, but he eventually just dismisses her and she leaves. But before she leaves, she actually sees Gabriel walk into an open door in their house, and she actually sees her mother in the room. And Gabriel and Winter's mother seem like they may have a secret affair of some sort. After she sees her mother and Gabriel, she just leaves, and then she goes outside to try to find her sister, and she sees her sister and her friends walking into a hedge maze that is in the backyard of this house. Winter desperately is trying to catch up to her sister and her friends and runs and follows them into the maze, but she's not able to find them and she gets lost, and she ends up in the center of the maze where there's this big, huge fountain. in the center of the maze. When she gets into the center of the maze where this fountain is, she runs into a woman that she recognizes as her ballet instructor. This woman asks Winter if she has seen Damon, who is her son. So this woman, who is Winter's ballet instructor, is also Damon's mother. And we know that Damon's mother is an extremely evil woman. As Damon's mother is asking Winter if she's seen Damon, Winter looks over into the fountain and she sees a figure hiding in the middle of the fountain who she assumes is Damon. She can tell that Damon likely does not want to be found and is hiding from his mother, so she does not give up Damon's location to her. After Damon's mother leaves, Winter enters the fountain and joins Damon in there, and they seem to have kind of like a bonding moment in the middle of this fountain. Winter then flashes back into present day, and this is 13 years later, and Winter is 21 years old now, and she is at her sister's wedding. Although she is at her sister's wedding, this is not a happy occasion by any means, and Winter is very, very distraught over this wedding. We quickly learn why when the groom approaches Winter and tells her that she will never be rid of him. And we find out that her sister's husband and Winter's now brother-in-law is, in fact, Damon Torrance. After the wedding, Winter is in the car home along with Damon, Winter's sister, and Damon's wife. Her name is Ari, and then Winter and Ari's mother, Mrs. Ashby. Apparently, this marriage was not for love on either side because Ari assures Damon that she intends to stay married to him for the full year required for her to obtain the settlement that was offered to her by Damon's father, Gabriel. In response to this, Damon menacingly assures Ari that they won't be divorcing ever. After hearing this, Winter thinks to herself, quote, "This was all just revenge on my family, after all. It was his plan to ruin us, finding proof of my father's embezzlement and tax fraud and causing his flight from the country, the feds seizing nearly everything we owned, our bank accounts drained, and now the perpetrator of all the havoc swooping in to take advantage of 3 destitute women who need support. As much as I wanted to pretend I didn't know the end game, I did. His plan wasn't to ruin us, it was to torture, for however long it entertained him to do so." So they pull up to the Ashby mansion, which is now owned by Damon, and the 3 women get out, but Damon does not, and he leaves. I think now is as good a time as any to clarify with you all that Winter is actually legally blind. So something happened to her 13 years ago, the same night that her and Damon hid in the fountain. Winter left Thunder Bay after high school and completed 2 years of college in Rhode Island, but then she quit to come back home and focus on ballet, so that's why Winter is back in Thunder Bay. Back in her family home, Winter heads up to her childhood bedroom where she finds a go bag that she has had packed and hidden under her bed since the night that she sent Damon to prison 5 years ago. Winter was the one that sent Damon to prison on the infamous Devil's Night in Corrupt era. We do not know why or how, but we do know that she is the person that sent him to prison. Later that night, Winter calls one of her oldest friends named Ethan to come and pick her up along with her seeing eye dog up the road from their house because Winter is trying to escape Thunder Bay now that she is in the clutches of Damon. Not even like 10 minutes into their drive, Ethan and Winter get pulled over by the cops, and Ethan has a taillight out, which he definitely never had before. So the cop pulls them over and starts searching the car. He opens the trunk and he finds Winter's duffel bag, like her go bag, and then he also finds so much hard drugs in Ethan's trunk. Those are not Ethan's drugs. Someone 1,000,000% planted those drugs in Ethan's trunk. The cop then gets a phone call and hands the phone to Winter. And when she answers the phone, it is none other than Gabriel Torrance. Gabriel tells Winter over the phone that Ethan will only have to spend 1 night in jail and then he will be released. If she does not want to cooperate and go back home, he will stay in jail until he can make bail, which I believe is a very large amount of money that he does not have. Hearing this, Winter complies and goes back to the Ashby mansion. We are now flashing back to 7 years ago, and we are in Damon's POV. Damon is a senior in high school and is on his way to class when he gets a call from Will. While he's on the phone, Damon thinks this about Will, quote, "He was the only one who didn't walk on eggshells around me, and I damn near killed him for it a few times, but now I barely did anything without him. Will, Michael, and Kai were my friends, and I'd walk through fire for any one of them. Will was the only one, though, who I was sure would walk through fire for me." At school, Damon gets an email getting called to the principal's office, and while he's waiting outside, he sees the entire Ashby family leaving the office. And this is the first time that Damon is seeing Winter since that night when she was 8 years old and he was 11 and they were in the fountain. Damon also overhears the principal say that Rika will be the person that is showing Winter around her first day of school. And then Mr. Ashby, who is the mayor of Thunder Bay at this time, spots Damon on his way out and threatens to end Damon if he does anything out of line in regards to Winter. Mr. Ashby really hates Damon, wants him nowhere near specifically Winter. The Ashbys have basically put a restraining order on Damon. It is not legal though. It is mostly just verbal. Like, it's just a threat to end him, whatever that means. We're flashing back to present day with Damon now, and he is playing chess with one of his father's old security guards, who is named Crane, and he's in like this upstairs lounge club, and then somebody walks in. Rika, of all people, enters this like private room to speak with Damon. We actually find out that Rika and Damon have been meeting in secret and exchanging information, and not even Michael, Rika's fiance, knows about this. Rika knows about Damon's marriage to Ari and about him running Mr. Ashby out of town, and she tells Damon not to hurt Winter. Damon shoots back, quote, "Coming from the woman who offered up all the info I needed to take her father, her home, and her fortune." And then he thinks to himself, quote, "Winter's father used the same accountant as Rika's family, the same disgruntled and anxious accountant who hinted that Winter's father, Griffin Ashby, might have swindled Rika's late father on some real estate deals years ago. I wasn't quite sure how she got the proof, but she didn't show up at my door until she had it, knowing it might be exactly what I needed to take down the Ashbys. And in exchange, I'd help her get something she needed as well. Something I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to give her just yet. I liked her coming around, and I didn't want it to stop." In his conversation with Rika, we get a pretty insane lore drop from Damon. He tells Rika, quote, "Do you know how much Will bled in prison? Do you know how hard Kai had to fight to hold down any food because his gut raged with nerves and fear from constantly having to look over his shoulder? Do you know that no matter what Michael paid or what he bribed, there were people paying more to see the rich, entitled sons of the Thunder Bay elite suffer in prison? Do you have any idea how sick they both got from lack of food and sleep to balance the excess of fear and pain? Yeah, well, neither do I, because I wasn't there. 3 levels below cell block 6, in the basement, down a dark corridor, below 5 feet of concrete, is where I was for 3 years. You didn't know that, did you?" No, we did not know that. So the entire time Damon, Will, and Kai were in prison, Damon was in solitary confinement. So he was never in prison with the two of them. He was in solitary confinement for 3.5 years. And to make it worse, the only human interaction that he had for 3.5 years was when prison guards would come into his cell and beat the daylights out of him because Damon's father, Gabriel, would pay them off to beat him up once a month so that Damon didn't get soft in prison. Damon's father not only paid these prison guards to beat him up once a month, Damon's father is the reason that Damon was sent to solitary. Because the Torrance family has so many enemies in this prison, he thought that Damon would be safer if he was in solitary. So this is just like, this is a lot to take in about Damon. We find out that Damon was stuck in solitary confinement for 3 years. We also learn that Damon blames Winter for him getting sent to prison. Damon is not only hung up on his relationship with Winter, but he is also still very hung up on his relationship with Will because they were so close. And Rika knows this, and so she tells Damon that Will has now both a drinking and a drug problem. And to this, Damon thinks to himself, quote, "It was almost the only thing Michael and I ever agreed on. We didn't do drugs. We were the drugs." Guys, please. So cringe. Damon tells Rika to go home, and on her way out, she notices a small black box and goes to open it. This freaks Damon out because I guess he does not want her to open whatever's in this box, and he rips it out of her hands before she can see what's in there. Damon is like hackles raised now from this, and so he threatens Rika and tells her that he could hurt her in a second and that they're not friends. Rika's like, "I'm glad we're on the same page that we're not friends." But before she can leave, Damon calls her back and gives her an untraceable gun and tells her to learn how to use the gun. And Rika's like, why are you giving me a gun? And Damon's like, it's because Gabriel is eventually gonna come after us, so you need to learn how to protect yourself. Then, after giving her an untraceable gun, he insinuates that Rika stays there and that they fool around. And I'm like, what is going on? The whiplash that I'm getting from him and his relationship and stance on Rika is just, I can't follow where he's going. After hearing that Damon like insinuates that they like fool around, Rika tells him that that's how she knows that he's only half as dangerous as he says, because all he ever does is threaten. To this, Damon replies with, quote, sometimes, and sometimes I mean exactly what I say. So trust me when I say you'll never escape me. None of you will. He is so scary, like actually. After hearing this, Rika leaves. Gabriel then calls Damon to let him know about the cop that pulled over Winter and Ethan and about how Winter had a go bag in the trunk. And once Damon hears this, he heads back to the Ashby house to confront Winter. Flashing back to 7 years ago, and we are back in Winter's POV, and this is her first day at Thunder Bay Prep, and Rika is like showing her around. And as they make their way through the school, Winter can feel that people are staring at them, and she asks Rika why. And Rika's like, I think that they're confused because we look so alike. Like we look like sisters. And then hearing that they look alike, Winter then turns to Rika and she's like, oh, well, like, are you hot? Because she's like, if Rika's hot, then that means I'm hot because we look alike. And I'm like not doing it justice, but I don't know what it was about this line. It's probably like one of my favorite lines of the series. I just think it's so funny. Later at lunch, Winter is sitting with Rika and some of her friends when Damon approaches their table. Like I said, Winter and Damon have not seen each other since Winter was 8. This is our first glimpse of like who Damon has become now. When he approaches their table and is like talking to Rika and some other people, she realizes that Damon has grown up to be extremely just cold and mean. Now Winter is finding out that Damon did end up being just like an asshole. Winter and Damon are kind of going back and forth until Winter's sister Ari steps in, and Ari is not intervening because she's being supportive of Winter. She's only intervening because if Damon gets punished for not abiding by the rules of leaving Winter alone, then it will make Ari look bad by association. Flashing back to present day, and we are in Winter's POV, and she is at private dance practice when she is just kind of lost in thought and then is jolted out of her thoughts when she accidentally hits her shin on a piano bench. Ethan appears out of nowhere to help her, and Winter is confused when he showed up, and he just tells her, oh, I just showed up right now, like crazy coincidence. Something seems off with that. Ethan helps Winter into this like little alcove thing out of the studio and helps her sit down, and then he goes to get some band-aids for her. She is waiting there and she hears him start to come back in and calls out to him, but weirdly he doesn't respond. He comes into the room and he starts coming like really close to her and almost leans in like he's about to kiss her. Since he's so close to her now, Winter can smell cigarettes on his breath, realizes that this man is not Ethan, and to confirm this, as this man is like about to kiss Winter, Ethan's voice sounds from out of the room saying that he found the band-aids. After she hears Ethan call out, Winter reaches out her hands to try to see like who this man is, but when she reaches out, she feels nothing, so the man has disappeared. And then later that night, Winter wakes up in the middle of the night and realizes that her seeing eye dog is not in the room with her, and she goes downstairs to investigate and realizes that Damon actually has her dog. Winter freaks out, tells Damon never to touch her dog, and they like start going back and forth, and then Damon actually orders Winter's dog to come to him in Russian, showing Winter that Damon has control over even her dog now. Damon then asks Winter if she remembers anything other than the treehouse the night that she went blind, and asks her if she remembers what happened in the fountain. Winter tells Damon that nothing happened, and Damon responds with, quote, I'm out of my own control, Winter. There are no choices. We are who we are, and we do what we do. It's nature, like a game piece. I will play my part because I can't resist. I can't be what I'm not. Like we are very familiar with in Hideaway, Damon is completely resigned to the monster that he has become. Winter then accuses Damon of ambushing her at the dance studio since she smelled the cigarettes on the man's breath, but Damon seems like he truly has no idea what she's talking about. Now flashing back to 7 years ago, and we are in Damon's POV, and the Horsemen are at a house party at the Ashbys when Ari approaches Will and Damon and asks Damon to go upstairs with her. Ari and I are not the same because Ari is interested in Damon very much so, and she's trying to get him to go upstairs with her, and Damon is like, no, instead of me going upstairs with you, I'm gonna have you go hook up with another guy in the hedges on the side of the house while I watch. Damon and Kai are two peas in a pod, I guess. And then this part is so funny. Ari is asking Damon who he wants her to hook up with, and then this happens. Quote, her blue eyes flashed to Will. Him? I shook my head once, and then her eyes wandered hesitantly, landing on someone behind me. Kai? I shook my head once again. Will shook his head too, sounding amused as he finished his beer. Jesus, he says. Like all the horsemen that are there, she's like, okay, you don't want to hook up with me, but like, what about, can I hook up with Will? And he's like, no. And then she's like, well, can I hook up with a guy? And he's like, no. she's just like picking out every single horseman to like try to be like, what about him? But Damon tells her no to both of the horsemen, and then tells her that he wants her to hook up with a guy that has a girlfriend, and she agrees eventually. But before she can go, Winter approaches and asks Ari to help her find a Christmas village in the basement of their house. Ari brushes Winter off and is just like mean to her, and this just annoys Damon, and he already wasn't really interested in Ari, but after seeing how she treated Winter and now knowing that Winter is indeed in the house, Damon just can't even muster up any semblance of interest in Ari. Next chapter, we are still 7 years ago, but we're flipping over to Winter's POV. So she leaves the party and heads downstairs with her ballet slippers to dance in the ballroom that is, of course, in their house. After dancing for a while in her ballroom, Winter heads up to the kitchen to get some water, and the house is locked, so the party can only be outside. No one is supposed to be in the house. But when Winter goes into the kitchen, she realizes that the door to the back patio is wide open, and that's when she gets the sensation that there is somebody else in the room with her. She calls out to this person that's in the room, but then suddenly hears a voice right behind her say boo in her ear. This is like a thriller. This is so creepy. She's terrified and like goes to run away from him and makes a break for the front door. But before she can get it open, the person grabs her around the waist and picks her up and brings her back down into the floor with the ballroom, like in the hallway outside of it. Winter tries to get away from the man again, asking him who he is, but he won't say a word. The man eventually starts talking to her, but he's whispering, so Winter can't recognize the voice. And the man reveals that he was watching Winter dance in the ballroom. Winter catches the man off guard eventually and headbutts him. And then she makes a break for her phone to call for help, but the man catches back up to her. And I'm sorry, who am I kidding with this man stuff? We all know that this is Damon Torrance, you guys. I'm just gonna stop with the man. But Winter does not know that this is Damon because he was just in the pool, so she can't smell the cigarette smell. And he's whispering to hide his voice from her. Damon does not want Winter to know that it is Damon. Winter and Damon are like fighting again in the hallway when they hear Winter's mother's voice coming from down the hallway. She's like talking on the phone, and then they go and hide in a closet in the hallway. Winter's father then comes into the hallway and her parents start arguing. Hearing all this stuff getting aired out, Winter starts crying, and then Damon hugs her to like help her calm down. This is also so her parents don't hear her crying and then open the closet door to find Winter with Damon. So back to present day, and we are flipping back over to Damon's POV, and you guys, this is, dare I say, the best chapter in all literary history. I want to also set the scene of where I was when I first read this chapter. This was many years ago, and I was in an Uber with my friends to go out to a bar, and I am a chronic phone reader. I have the Kindle app on my phone. I read on my phone all the time. I'm reading this book on my phone. I'm in the Uber on the way to the bar with my friends. I get to this chapter and I am beside myself, trying to contain my emotions as I ride in this Uber with my two friends that do not read these kinds of books as I'm trying to go to the bar. How am I supposed to act normal at the bar after reading this chapter? And once I read it to you, you'll understand why. Also, if you remember from my hideaway video, I did hint that Damon and Will are very, very good friends, that they're very close friends. And we might get a little more detail on that later in the series. This is that more detail. Without further ado, let's get into the best chapter of all time. Damon arrives back at the Ashby house. but only Winter is home and she's in the backyard. On his way out into the backyard, he notices that Winter is actually not alone. She is in the pool with Will. Will is at the Ashby house because he agreed to help train Winter in self-defense, and being in the pool helps Winter with her balance as they train. Damon is very territorial over all of his friends, but very, very, very territorial over Will especially. Will and Winter exchange a few more words in the pool, and then they get out and Winter heads into the house, leaving Damon and Will alone in the backyard. Can you guys see where I'm going with this? Will and Damon head over to the fire pit and they are circling the fire pit as Damon is like taunting Will, trying to get a rise out of him. I also want to let you know that Will is wearing no shirt and jeans. He's wearing wet jeans. He was in the pool in jeans. Damon is taunting Will, asking Will if he missed him. And I'm just gonna read this whole exchange to you because it's too good. "You missed me, didn't you?" I taunted. His wet jeans clung to his legs, and I noticed that he'd added some more ink to his chest and arms since I last saw him. But some things hadn't changed. He was still dwelling on shit and getting drunk and high all the time. He needed me. A small chuckle escaped him, and I caught his eye again. "You were my heroine once upon a time," he said, "and you still like your drugs, from what I hear." He shook his head, knowing full well where I got that information. His lips twitched and his gaze was charged with fury, rage, excitement, the blacks of his eyes small and sober, because he didn't need that when he had me. "Winter likes you," I said, taking another slow step. "She seems to trust you. Why?" "I have a way with women," he teased. "I remember. You were fun to watch." I knew he was remembering all the stuff we got up to back in the day. We had some fun, even without girls. Guys. Damon advances on Will and they start fighting and they wrestle to the ground, and then Damon pins Will beneath him, and then they have this exchange, quote, "Oh, I remember this. This is what you really missed, isn't it?" Damon says. "Don't talk about that. I was drunk," Will responds. All 3 times? Michael and Kai don't know how close we got, do they? Will and Damon break apart, and Will starts taunting Damon about how Will also likes Winter. Damon gets really mad hearing this and threatens Will, telling him that he almost killed him once and he could finish the job this time. Will tells him to do it because he has nothing to lose. Damon can tell Will is just completely broken, but he won't stop taunting Damon. And Will tells him, quote, "I have a passion for self-destruction, and you always knew it, and you always knew we would end badly. This won't end any other way." Will keeps pushing and pushing Damon, and he's starting to have a panic attack. Will is also now crying and starts hitting Damon, telling him to kill him over and over and over. Similar to Hideaway, Damon is not fighting back, just begging Will to stop. Finally, Damon stops Will, telling Will that he can't kill him, and Will finally breaks down, and then this happens. I moved my hands to his face, just holding him, and ready to say so much, because I never had to hide anything from him. He never saw weakness when he looked at me. I wanted to tell him things. I wanted to tell him that I never would have hurt him, that I didn't know what Trevor was doing, and it wasn't supposed to go down like that, because out of all 3 of my friends, Will was the one I would always save first. That my pride and anger wouldn't let me retreat, and that if he had been pulled into the ocean's bottom, out of my reach, I would have followed him. I would have followed him and rotted down there, close to wherever he was, because nothing I would have acquired after that, my inheritance or my vengeance on Winter, would have been worthwhile without him. Desperate to convince Will that Will needs Damon, Damon kisses Will. Damon and Will then go to second base. I'm losing my mind in the Uber. I have to say, the entire time that they're hooking up, Damon is telling Will to picture this girl that Will has always been infatuated with since high school, but I don't care because they are still hooking up. And you want to tell me, Penelope, that these 2 men are just best friends. How could you do this to me? The wasted potential of making Damon, Will, and Winter a throuple. There is ample evidence of how they are a throuple. She chickened out of making them a throuple, and I will never forgive her for this. I am, as you can tell, a die-hard Will and Damon shipper, naming myself a dill shipper. So to my fellow dill shippers, we are vindicated. They have hooked up multiple times without girls, and just hooked up again. Damon is 100% in love with Will romantically. You do not talk about your friends this way. There is so much proof in this book that Damon is in love with Will, and I will keep pointing it out. Penelope, please, if you ever see this, please rewrite this book and make Will and Damon and Winter a throuple. Please, Penelope, please do it for me. Please do it for all the Dill shippers around the world. Please, queen. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, I know. After they're done, Will is still mad at Damon, but the fight has just been exhausted out of him. He doesn't want to fight anymore, but he is still really mad at Damon. I wish I could just talk about that chapter for the rest of the video, but we do need to continue on with the story. So flashing back to 7 years ago, we are back in Winter's POV, and this is the day after the party, I believe, and Winter is working on homework when she hears music coming from the ballroom. When she goes down to investigate the music, she realizes that Whisper Man is down there in the ballroom. Damon asks Winter what happened the day that she went blind, and Winter tells him that she fell off of a treehouse. He asks if she was pushed, and she just responds that she shouldn't have been up there. And then she says that she wishes she would have never met him, and trails off without telling Damon who that is. And then he asks her what she has never been able to do that she really wants to do since becoming blind. And Winter tells him that she has like a whole list of things that she would love to do. She tells him that she really wants to drive a car. And so Damon takes her to do just that. So he helps her drive his car by having her sit on his lap so that he can help direct her to steer. Winter then has them drive really fast, and they almost spin out and crash. Winter then explains to Damon that she often will see emotions as colors sometimes. And then she asks Damon the color of his car, and he tells her that his car is black, and she tells him that she doesn't have an emotion for black. This spurs Damon to drive them to a different location, and when Winter asks what they're doing, Damon just takes her out of the car and puts them on a motorcycle. They're driving crazy, and this is scaring Winter. And then Damon tells Winter, quote, "This is black. Fear, falling, release, excitement, risk, danger." Winter relaxes a little bit after they keep driving, and Damon assures her, quote, "I won't let you go," but then corrects himself and just says, "I won't let you go." And what is it with the Torrance siblings and almost blowing their cover just like immediately? They stop driving, and Winter asks Damon if he can show her the color red, and he just responds saying someday. And she also asks him if he still plans on hurting her, to which he responds again with someday. Back to present day, we are flipping back to Damon's POV, and Damon is somehow found himself at Rika and Michael's engagement party. Who the hell invited you to this, dude? Damon is there, and he is receiving a report from his main henchman named Crane, and he's reporting on Winter to him, letting him know that Winter was at a haunted house with some friends, and also that he set up the appointment Damon requested with an attorney. I was so hung up on the Damon Will hooking up that I did forget to tell you that there was a chapter, kind of irrelevant, that all that happens is Winter went to a carnival with her friends, like random friends, background friends, and she went into a haunted house at this carnival. All that ends up happening is she gets separated from her friends, and then she ends up dry humping a carny. So that's the haunted house that he was talking about. They don't know about the dry humping carny part, but they just know that she was in a haunted house. Michael approaches Damon and threatens to kick him out, and they start beefing, and then Kai joins in, and now all three of them are beefing. While they're beefing, Graymark Christine must be doing really well, because mid-argument, Michael throws in that he bought Rika a $250,000 necklace. Either Graymark Christine is doing really well, or because you know Michael is a professional basketball player. I don't know if like Meridian City is the best basketball team in the country, but somehow Michael is buying Rika a $250,000 necklace just on a whim. So Kai then tells Damon, quote, "Banks loves you, and we would never disinvite the Ashbys. Those are the only reason that you're here. You burned down my dojo, you tried to kill us, and you're not to be trusted around Rika. We are not friends. So when we run into each other, we'll keep it brief and civil for the women's sake, but I am not ready to pretend everything's okay. I guess that's why Damon is there, which I don't think is a good enough explanation, but fine. Damon then looks over and notices that Winter changed out of her party attire into like a dance costume, and then overhears Winter tell Ethan that Rika and Michael asked her to dance at their engagement party. And then Damon inserts himself into their conversation, and then Alex also approaches their group with Will, and Will introduces Winter to Alex and tells Winter that Alex knows Rika from college. Damon then laughs and asks if Alex is for hire, and his general antics just piss everybody off and they disperse from him. Great job, Damon. Alex sticks around though, and then we find out that not only has Damon been meeting with Rika in secret, he also has been paying Alex for her services in secret, because remember, Alex is an escort, but he has not been paying for her services for him. He's actually been paying for her services for her to go and be with Mr. Christ, Michael's dad. All the men in this book are so gross. He is trying to get Alex close to Mr. Christ so that she can get information on Mr. Christ for Damon. Alex was able to swipe a flash drive from Mr. Christ from the last time she saw him, and she gives it to Damon. After she gives it to him, Mrs. Fane, so Erica's mother, accidentally bumps into Damon, causing him to drop the flash drive. And I'm really sorry because I know I'm saying so many people's names. It's just everyone is like coming up to Damon at this point. When Mrs. Fane realizes who she bumped into and realizes that it's Damon, she looks shell-shocked, so freaked out. Damon snaps her out of her shock with like a snide comment, and then she just walks away. It is time for Winter's performance now. She walks into the middle of the dance floor and she surprises everyone, including Damon, by dedicating her performance to Damon, telling him, "I know how much you love Christmas." This is a callback to the Christmas Village. When he first interacts with her, she was like going downstairs to try to find this Christmas village. Her sister wouldn't help her. She woke up the next morning to the Christmas village like in her room or something. Damon ended up finding it for her. Winter tells Damon, "I know how much you love Christmas. This is dedicated to you." And then she starts dancing to a sexy version of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." What the hell is a sexy version of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch"? And why are you performing such a thing at your friend's engagement party, girl? I don't know if it's Christmas. I don't think it is. And it's an engagement party. And you're dedicating this performance not to, "Hey, I would love to dedicate my performance to the future Mr. and Mrs. Christ, to my friend Rika," whatever. You're in Rika and Michael's house. You're dedicating your performance to the man that almost killed all of their friends and them, and then you're doing a dance to the sexy version of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." Girl, you're never getting hired ever again for a dancing gig. I would be like, we're actually not gonna be doing a sexy dance to "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." You're actually not. Didn't think that I would have to tell you that. "Hey, by the way, babe, I would love for you to perform at my engagement party. Please do not do a dance to the sexy version of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," or any sexy version of any Christmas song for that matter, please. As Winter is dancing, Damon is very frustrated with this because he knows that this is a dig at him. And as Damon is watching her dance, Michael approaches him and says, quote, "You know what? I'm feeling generous tonight. Forget what I said. You can stay as long as you like. Eat, drink, because it looks like you have your hands full enough at home." Ouch. And you know what, Michael? Good job. That got a chuckle out of me. That is probably the one and only funny thing that Michael has ever said. Later that night, Damon is already home at the Ashby house when he hears Winter finally come home at 1 a.m. He is immediately at her, asking her where she was for the past 4 hours because he knows that she left the engagement party with Ethan, but they weren't at his house. While Damon has Winter, Crane brings in Ethan. Damon tells Winter that Ethan has been taking pictures of Winter because every single man in the Devil's Night verse is a felon. Ethan has been taking non-consensual photos of Winter, and then they found all of these pictures like hung up in his room. Damon then asks Winter if anything physical happened with Ethan, and then Crane starts beating Ethan up Winter promises Damon that nothing has happened like romantically with her and Ethan, that they are just friends. Damon believes this answer, I think, to an extent, and then tells Crane to make Ethan go home. Damon and Winter then just start fighting, and this is where their past kind of comes up. We already know that there is a video of Damon and Winter together on Corrupt Era Devil's Night, and that this is why Damon went to prison. But then we find out also that the night that they were together, that Winter did not know that it was Damon, and Winter wholeheartedly believes that Damon released this video on purpose, but he thinks to himself, he doesn't tell her outwardly, he thinks to himself that he never wanted that video released, but he doesn't explain this to her. They keep fighting, and until Damon like throws his marriage to Ari in Winter's face and then tells her that this is what the color red feels like. Now flashing back to 7 years ago, we are in Winter's POV. Winter is alone in the library when the fire alarm goes off, and then all of the students file out, but no one helps Winter to the exit. Luckily, this wasn't a real fire. It was just a false alarm, and it was a ruse to get Damon alone with Winter. Damon brings her into a classroom, and we can see that Winter really, really does not like Damon, and she does blame him for her blindness. They're arguing, and Winter calls him a scared little boy still hiding from his mom in the fountain. To this, Damon replies that he killed his mom last night. I think that this is actually true because the timeline does line up. Of course, Winter doesn't think he's being serious. Winter tells Damon that the next time he tries to ambush her, she will kill him. And Damon responds with, "You might have to." And on her way out, Damon asks if she would have forgiven him if he also went over the side of the treehouse that day. And Winter doesn't know, but before she can respond, the principal finds them and brings them both to the principal's office, where he threatens to expel Damon. Damon isn't scared though, like his threats don't mean anything to him. It's only when Winter tells the principal that she will leave the school because she wants to get away from Damon, that Damon promises to leave her alone so that she will stay at Thunder Bay. Flashing back to present day, and we are still in Winter's POV, and she wakes up in the morning after the engagement party to find the house completely empty, except she gets scared when she hears thumping coming from the attic. She walks into the hallway and calls out to see if anybody's there, but nobody responds. She is freaked out though, because although nobody responds, she can tell that there is somebody near her. And I think she makes the very smart decision of, instead of investigating further, she just calls an Uber, tells it to take her to Rika's house, and she just leaves. But on her way into the Uber, she hears maniacal laughing coming from inside the house, so proving that somebody was in there with her. So Winter is headed to Rika's house because Rika invited her to like hang out that day. But when Winter gets to her front door, nobody answers when she knocks. Winter figured that she could like go to Rika's house because she had invited her to hang out, but it's like 8 a.m. Winter just like lets herself into Rika and Michael's house. And once she gets in, she hears noises like coming from upstairs. It's like Rika and Michael hooking up upstairs. So Winter feels awkward and she turns to leave. And on her way out, Will catches Winter eavesdropping. After he catches her eavesdropping, Will kisses Winter on the lips and tells her that she needs to get laid, and if she doesn't want to sleep with Damon, that he is happy to oblige. After kissing her and telling her that he would sleep with her, Will leaves. Shortly after, Winter just returns home, and Crane tells her that Ari, her sister, and her mother left last night to go to the Maldives for Damon and Ari's honeymoon. This, I think, is just like a plot device to get Winter and Damon alone in the house for the rest of the book, because Damon obviously never goes to the Maldives. I also am super confused why her mother is joining them in the Maldives, or why they're even having a honeymoon in general, because it's strictly like a business marriage. Like, they don't like each other. Switching back over to Damon's POV, where Crane lets him know that Winter was concerned about the noises that she heard in the house that morning. And I actually appreciate this from Damon, because upon hearing this, instead of brushing her off, Damon increases their security detail in the house. Damon then heads to another one of his secret meetings with Rika, where she threatens him and tells him that she knows that he was the person that was filming when Will and Kai assaulted a police officer in Corrupt Era Devil's Night. With this leverage that she has over him, Rika tells Damon that he will not force himself on Winter. While they're talking, Damon then insinuates that Rika's mother slept with his father, which upsets her. Rika then lunges at Damon and they wrestle until Damon pins Rika. Rika holds a knife to Damon's throat when he pins her, but Damon assures Rika that she won't hurt him, and she asks him, well, how do you know that? Damon's like, well, it's because we're friends. Rika's like, you don't know the meaning of the word. Like, we're not friends. And then Damon immediately, to her saying like, you don't know the meaning of friends, Damon immediately replies that he would kill for her. After he says that, Damon then thinks this. He thinks, quote, the incredulous look on her face, like she didn't know if she should be touched or laughing, mimicked exactly what was happening in my head right now. Yes, it kind of just came out, but I thought it was true. At one time, I would have killed for Michael, Kai, and Will. I might still, but I definitely kill for Erica and Banks. They might not like me a whole lot, but they understood me. After Damon tells Rika that he would kill for her, he pulls the flash drive that Alex gave him out to show Rika to diffuse the tension. Then we get another big bomb drop. We learn that this flash drive has information on it that shows that Michael and Damon's fathers orchestrated the car crash that almost killed Rika and did kill her father all those years ago. Although they find this out from this flash drive, they don't get the reason why they would orchestrate this hit on Rika's father, so we're still not sure their reasoning behind orchestrating this car crash. Flipping back to 5 years ago now, and we are back in Winter's POV, and Winter tells us that it has been 2 full years since she heard from Damon, or to her, this whisper man, and it just feels like to her a rejection with no explanation. Winter is getting off of work at a movie theater when one of her coworkers offers her a ride home with her friends, and when they get in the car, Winter finds out that those friends are Astrid and Miles Anderson. Miles is driving, and then pretty early into the ride, they realize that their car is being followed, but they brush this off pretty quickly because it is very close to Devil's Night, so pranks are already very common. Miles drops Winter's coworker off, so leaving Winter alone with Miles and Astrid, they then drive past her house and do not drop her off and take her out of town, like into more of like a secluded area. It's very creepy. And they start trying to force themselves on her. Winter is trying to get out of the car when all of a sudden a bunch of black paint balloons start hitting the car, and Miles and Astrid are freaking out, and they get scared off by whoever or whatever they are seeing outside of the car, and they get out and they bolt. So now Winter is alone in this car, no idea where she is. So she gets her phone to call her mom to come pick her up. She hears breathing in the back seat. Once she hears the breathing in the back seat, she's trying to get out of the car until she hears the source of the breathing speak, and she realizes that it is Whisper Man. It is Damon, and once he reveals himself to her, she is not scared anymore. She's just really, really excited to get to see him again. Once they are reunited, Winter and Damon/Whisper Man, they have their first kiss. Switching back over to Damon's POV, this is still 5 years ago, and they are now in the car on the way to drop Winter off at home. And on Winter's way out of the car, she gives Damon a key to her house, telling him that she likes the thought of him coming back someday, and then she heads inside. Damon makes it about 10 minutes max before he turns his car around and decides to use the house key right then and there to sneak into Winter's house. He gets into her house, he finds her in her bathroom about to take a shower. She realizes it's him and that he's in there. They start hooking up. While they're hooking up, Winter asks Damon to be her first and that she wants to sleep with him. And then she also asks Damon to take a picture of what they are doing in case he disappears again so that he will have something to remember her by. Damon asks her if a video is okay. She says yes. Early on into them hooking up, Damon drops the phone on the ground. Then they go into the shower. The phone, they're not even sure if the phone is recording, but it is pointed at the ceiling. Damon and Winter then sleep together for the first time inside of the shower, and the phone is left outside. Back to present day, we are in Winter's POV, and we are going back to another haunted house. Winter, Alex, and Will are all heading to this like haunted house park. In the haunted house, Will and Alex get separated from Winter again. Why are you people not keeping track of your friend who is legally blind? I also don't get why she wants to keep going into the haunted house. Could not be me. Here's a really fun personal story. If you don't want to hear this, skip probably, I don't know, 45 seconds. The one and only time I ever went to Fright Night or whatever at Six Flags, I was in middle school and I was trying to be cool with my friends. And we were in the New Orleans section, so there were a bunch of clowns and they love to pick on the people that are very, very scared because they get like more of a reaction out of them. And I'm walking in between my two friends and one of the clowns had a jack-in-the-box on a metal chain that he would whip at people's feet. And I look up, he's minding his business. I look back down, I look up again. He's now staring directly at me. He's stopped dead in his tracks. I'm now freaking out. My friends are telling me to calm down because they're like, you have to look unbothered or else he's gonna come get ya. I look down again, I'm trying to compose myself. I look up, he is now staring just right at me and beelining for me. My friends are like, please relax, please relax. I cannot relax. I break away from my friends. I'm dead sprinting because you know they get like, they have those boundaries where they can't cross it. So I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of the New Orleans section so that this clown cannot follow me. I am running for my life. The clown running behind me, whipping the jack-in-the-box with the chain at my feet. He's scream laughing, full blown running, adult man, by the way. I'm 13. I get to the boundary. He has to stop. I look behind me. He's finally stopped running. I get to the boundary. I turn around. He's standing there screaming at me, telling me to come back, laughing, whipping the thing. I just sit down. I'm distraught. I make it probably one more hour. It becomes a little bit dark. I call my dad and I'm like, please come pick me up. My dad has to come pick me up. I do the walk of shame out of Six Flags and go home. And I never returned to another haunted house event again. I know when to cut my losses, okay? Personal story over. I'm really sorry if you didn't want to hear that, but Will and Alex get separated from Winter again in this haunted house, but shortly after, Will starts leading her further into the maze of the house. Winter quickly realizes that this is not Will like she originally thought. It is Damon. She is not fighting going with him though, and when he picks her up, she like hugs Damon. Damon takes Winter into this room in the haunted house. I don't know how there's all these abandoned sections and all these different haunted houses. Why are you not using the whole haunted house? Why do you have all these random rooms in all these different haunted houses that people can just go into also that they're not like closed? How are people just finding all these nooks and crannies in the haunted houses? Damon finds one. He finds this room that I think is covered in like hay bales or something. And him and Winter sleep together. Right after they're done, Winter is filled with just self-loathing and embarrassment, and she goes outside to like clean herself up in the bathroom. She finds Alex to help her because her like shirt had gotten broken during their whole thing. Damon also leaves the haunted house shortly after. When Alex goes into the bathroom to help Winter with her shirt, Alex asks Winter if Damon hurt her, to which Winter just replies, not as much as I hurt myself. Switching back over to Damon's POV, he is out of the haunted house, but he's still at like the 18 and over carnival venue thing, and he is keeping an eye out on the bathroom to make sure that Winter emerges from the bathroom and she's not left alone again. So at least somebody's in their own way looking out for Winter to make sure she's not left alone. I don't really think it's great that it's Damon of all people that's looking out for her, but you know. Damon then sees Winter leave the bathroom with Alex, and then Rika comes up and joins the two girls. This raises Damon's suspicions right as he turns his head and just sees Michael and Kai storming up to him. Michael confronts Damon, and then the funniest conversation happens, so I'm gonna read the whole thing. I want to talk to you in private, he said. Private? I teased. Like steam room private? I'm game. Speaking of which, pay any visits to Hunter Bailey recently? I laughed under my breath. Ask Erica, I taunted him. Or is she keeping things from you? His face was frozen, but I knew the storm that raged under his skin. I trust her. I don't trust you. What are you hanging over her head? Believe it or not, I told him, she's the one who has my neck in a noose. Quite the little dominant your monster is. I'm kind of digging it, if you want to share. And then I shot my eyes to Kai. With everyone, I mean. Listen, Damon may be a sadistic evil monster, but he is funny. And I think sadistic evil monster with funny lines beats sadistic evil monster with really boring lines like Michael. Michael and Damon are going back and forth when Alex, Will, and Banks come up to join them. Will then points at something behind Michael, catching all of their attention, and they all look to see one of Rika's professors inappropriately flirting with her, which pisses Michael off. And Damon goads Michael, telling him that Rika doesn't need him and that Michael won't deal with this guy. Michael raises to the bait and tells Damon that if he's so smug, to tell him how he would deal with him. And then Damon immediately goes full Danny Ocean mode. So he turns to Banks and he says, "Banks, how fast can you get the butcher to be at the haunted house?" Banks then texts said butcher. Damon turns to Alex. "Alex, go get a first aid kit with smelling salts." She goes to get the first aid kit. He looks at Kai, he says, "Can you still knock people out with one single kick?" As he is apparently known to do. Kai's like, "Of course." He says, "Amazing, we need to use that." As he's telling all these people to do these things, Michael finally is like, "What are you planning on doing?" And Damon just goes, "Well, do you want it?" After a beat to think about it, Michael says yes. So the boys are back together, baby, at least for this one scene. After Michael says that yes, he wants in on the evil plan, Damon fills the entire crew in on what he wants to do to this weird, gross professor. After he fills them in, the crew breaks to do their separate jobs to execute it. So Alex asks the professor to take a walk around the amusement park with her, and when they get away from the crowds, Kai sneak attacks him and KOs him in one kick. After this guy gets knocked out, the crew drags his unconscious body into the woods. They have Alex laid down next to him and make it look like he killed her. Then they use the smelling salts to make him wake up. When he comes to, he realizes that he killed Alex and he freaks out. And then everybody else that's not Alex is waiting in the woods and watching him have like a full-on mental breakdown because he thinks he murdered someone. And they're all cracking up, watching it all unfold. Just as quickly as their laughter started, it fades away when they just remember everything that's gone down the past couple years. Realizing this, Damon thinks to himself, quote, "Years ago, this was what it was like with us. Before we realized fun had a price and anger clouded everything as we latched on to anyone to blame. Especially me. Tonight was a bittersweet reminder of everything I'd ruined, and they hadn't forgotten that it was mostly my fault." Realizing that the vibes are going down, Damon leaves the rest of the group and just tells Will to make sure that Winter is home by 2 a.m. Flashing back to 5 years ago, we're back in Damon's POV, and we actually get the car scene from Corrupt. So the scene when Rika is sitting on Michael's lap when they first pick her up in Corrupt, and Damon is all the way in the back smoking cigarettes and just like looking menacingly at her and being creepy. We're getting his POV from that, which is super fun. Damon is in the car ruminating over how he's going to break the news to Winter that she lost her virginity to her sworn enemy Damon Torrance, and she had no idea that it was him. We learn as well that Damon hates Rika so much in book 1, not only because of his trauma surrounding women from what he went through as a child, but also because she looks so much like Winter. Combined with his self-loathing for not being able to hate Winter, he just funnels it all into poor Rika. The crew pulls up to the Ashby house, and this is in Rika's POV. This was when Damon goes in for, I don't know, it was like 20-30 minutes. He goes in, says he's doing his prank by hooking up with one of the Ashby daughters, and then he leaves. So now we get Damon's POV of what actually happens when he goes into this house. This is what happens. Damon sneaks into Winter's room, and she tells him that her father is sending her away back to her school in Canada. Damon doesn't end up replying to her and chickens out of telling her the truth, and he just leaves and gets back in the car. Later that night, Damon is in the car with Rika, a passed out drunk Will, and a Kai mask wearing Trevor. Now we are getting Damon's POV from the scene where Damon and Trevor attack Rika, and she loses the burner phone and Trevor gets a hold of it. We kind of know how this goes. Damon and Trevor drive her past her house and then let her out, where Damon and her start fighting. And while Damon is wrestling with her, Damon is getting flashbacks of his mother until he gets so disgusted and panicked about what he's doing that he pushes Rika away. She ends up in Trevor's hands. And this is when Trevor starts getting very, very aggressive with Rika. Seems like something really, really bad is going to happen, until Damon, of all people, is the one that gets Trevor to get away from her. And then after Trevor lets Rika go, she runs away. Damon is disgusted with himself and he gets in the car alone and drives off. And in the car, he thinks to himself, quote, "What did I just do? Was I actually going to hurt her? but I did hurt her. She came out tonight, saved my ass in town earlier, and I attacked her. She stood up for me, and all I saw was trash and a threat. All that spirit, and I beat it down. I treated her like garbage, and instead of feeling powerful, I only saw a little boy on the ground, crying and heartsick because he couldn't stop what was happening to him. Rika would hate me. She would never look at me again. Will is still passed out in the back seat, so Damon takes Will home and tucks him into bed at his house. Just two platonic male friends tucking each other into bed. Damon then puts on some of Will's clean clothes to hide his cigarette smell and heads back to Winter's house. Damon is in love with Winter at this point, and he sneaks into her room to wake her up because he has decided that he is going to ask her to come with him to his family's cabin in Maine so that he can virtually hold her hostage there when he breaks the, hey, by the way, you lost your virginity to your enemy Damon Torrance news. Winter agrees to go with him, and they're happy for about 20 seconds until Damon's phone starts going off. And I'm sick at this point because we all know what's about to happen. Damon checks it, and his stomach drops when he realizes that he is getting messages that all of the videos from the burner phone have been released, including the video of Damon and Winter. Damon is sick to his stomach, having never wanted that video to get out, but there's nothing he can do now. It is everywhere. He looks at Winter and he knows that she knows that something's wrong, and she keeps asking him, like, what's going on? My phone is blowing up. Your phone is blowing up. Like, tell me what's happening. He's begging her, don't let me go. Don't let me go. Don't let me go. And she's so confused. And then they hear her father pull into the house, and he charges up the stairs. He like tells Damon to get away from her, and he like uses Damon's name. And this is when Winter realizes that it's Damon. Winter is furious, feels betrayed. She's in shock, and she turns to Damon and tells him, quote, I hate you. You're a whore. And you had to lie because you knew I'd never want you. No one will ever love you. Get out. Winter then tells her dad to never let Damon near her again, and Damon leaves. No time to dwell. We're back to present day with Winter, and Winter returns to the Ashby house, and she's trying to sleep when Damon breaks down the door to her bedroom, and Winter starts really going in on Damon and about him and his childhood and about how no one will ever love him. And Damon starts having a panic attack. After Damon calms down, he tells Winter about how them hiding in the fountain when they were kids gave him a reason to keep going. And then when he saw her again in high school after all of those years, he was ashamed of the person he had become after all that he had faced growing up. And he tells her that nothing between them was a lie when they were together 5 years ago. And then he just leaves the room. After he confesses all of this to Winter, she thinks to herself, quote, and then he walked out, and my chest ached so badly. For air or for him, I didn't know, but I ran to the window, yanked it up, and drew in a lungful of air, feeling everything give away. Slip away, fade, and ease. My fear, my worry, my hatred, my anger. Why hadn't he said all of that years ago? Like, and this is where you guys are gonna be like, girl, the difference between this couple's relationship and Hideaway's relationship, I think these two people's relationship is so much deeper and more fleshed out than Kai and Banks' ever was. I think that she did a way better job in this book of both of their arcs into coming back together. I think their journey together and separately makes a lot more sense and has a lot more payoff than Kai and Banks ever did. Sorry for the Kai and Banks slander just thrown in, but okay, so next chapter, we are switching over to Damon's POV. Damon somehow granted access to Michael's penthouse in Delcourt, storms in and just asks the Horsemen plus Rika if they hate him. None of them answer, but they also don't say yes. So this is a win in Damon's eyes. Damon tells the crew that he just wants things to go back to how they were before and to continue with their plan to run things. The crew is not convinced because none of them have their own money or power. It's all still tied up with their parents. Damon tells them that he not only ran off Winter's father for his own personal vendetta, he also did it to make it so Thunder Bay needed a new mayor. Who do you think he wants to run for mayor? Rika. Rika does not want to do this, but the horsemen seem interested in this idea, and it seems like they might be on their way to dropping their beef with Damon until Will demands that Damon apologize for everything. Damon, shockingly, does. I think that's the biggest twist of this entire series, that they ask him to apologize and he just swallows his pride and he goes, okay, I'm sorry. They are silent for a while until Michael breaks the silence, giving Damon orders on how to move forward with their new Rika as mayor plan. You guys, it is official. The boys are back together. The horsemen have been reunited. All it took was an apology for Damon. Let's go, baby. After the band is back together, the boys head out, but before they can leave, Rika catches up to Damon and tells him, quote, Michael and Kai are smarter than you, you know. Because if there's one thing they know about revenge, Damon, it's that it won't feel nearly as good as her love will. But I think you already know that, don't you? Rika also tells Damon that he should give Winter some space to breathe while he gets his act together so that he can show Winter that he can survive without her. Back over to Winter's POV, and she hasn't seen Damon in a few days, but there's been a lot of construction noises going on in the Ashby house. And Crane tells Winter it's because Damon demanded that they remove the fountain that was also outside of their house. Winter then falls asleep and has a dream / completely true flashback to the night that she fell from the treehouse. And in this flashback, she sees Damon bring Winter to the treehouse, and as they're climbing up, he promises that he will not let her fall. The two of them are just enjoying the view at the top until Winter's father shows up and goes up into the treehouse, and he's really angry with her for not telling him where she was going, and is super, super angry that she's with Damon. So her father hated Damon even then, even when Damon was an 11-year-old boy. When Damon's father's in the treehouse, he's trying to get Winter to get away from Damon and is asking Winter if Damon hurt her, and Winter says no. Mr. Ashby grabs her and tells her that she is never allowed back at the Torrance house again, and to tell him if her mother ever brings her back. As her father is pulling her away, Damon is telling Mr. Ashby that he wants Winter to come back and is pleading with him. But Mr. Ashby is absolutely irate, yanking Winter away from Damon to the exit in the floor of the treehouse. Damon is trying to get to Winter, telling her father that he will help her down and to just stop and to just let him help her down. Damon has stepped between Winter and Mr. Ashby, and when Mr. Ashby comes at Damon, he's 11 years old, so he's afraid, and he takes a step back away from Mr. Ashby, but unfortunately, Winter was crouched down behind him, so he steps back, stumbles into Winter, and they both fall, but Winter falls out of the treehouse because she's right by the hatch in the floor. So that's how she fell out of the treehouse. So it was a complete accident. Winter wakes up from this dream / 100% factual flashback and realizes for the first time the truth of that night, that Damon was just trying to protect her. And it really was just a horrible accident after all. She leaves the room and goes to a nearby window just for fresh air. And when she's out, and as she's leaning out the window, she hears the sound of water running. It sounds like a fountain, but she's confused because Crane told her that Damon took out their fountain. She goes down into the front of the house to investigate, and when she goes outside, she realizes that it is a fountain, that he tore down the old fountain and Damon built her a new fountain in the shape of a maze. So all the water, it's like spraying upward, and the water is like, makes little maze paths similar to the hedge maze with the fountain in the middle. I don't know if it's just me and if this series has melted my brain. I think that that is so cute, and I think it really got me. Do I have Stockholm syndrome? Perhaps. In the middle of this maze, realizing what Damon has done for her, Winter starts crying and realizes that she loves Damon. With this acceptance that she loves Damon, Winter goes and tells Crane where she will be that night, hoping that he will tell Damon and that Damon will meet her there. Later that night, Winter's at the Cove for a party thrown by other Thunder Bay Prep alumni, and she's with the whole crew, but no Damon. And the Cove, if you know from my Punk 57 video, the Cove is an abandoned theme park. And the theme of this party is to wear your old school uniform, since it's like a Thunder Bay Prep alumni party. And Winter is dancing with Will until Damon replaces him. And Winter asks Damon why he isn't wearing his school uniform and why he's only wearing a hoodie and jeans. And Damon tells her that it's because this is the outfit that she knew him in high school in. And to this, Winter replies, quote, "As long as you're Damon Torrance, I don't care what you wear." Damon asks Winter if she liked the fountain, and she tells him that she loves it. He then leads her into a maze that is apparently at the Cove. There is an abundance of haunted houses and mazes in this town. In the maze, they play foreplay Marco Polo. I do not know what it is with these people and their hide and seek games as foreplay, but they do play Marco Polo and they do smash in the maze. When Damon and Winter are hooking up in the maze, Damon tells Winter to tell him that she loves him, to which she does, but he does not say it back. We know that he loves her, he just won't say it out loud. On their drive home, Winter tells Damon that she loves him again without having to be asked this time. But again, he does not say it back. The next morning, Winter wakes up in Damon's room alone, but she does find a note that he wrote her, telling her that he will be back in time for breakfast. The note is in Braille, and Winter realizes that Damon bought a Braille printer just for her to write her notes. And I'm sorry, once again, Stockholm Syndrome, I think this is cute. Winter is blissfully happy after last night, but her mood is quickly dampened when she gets a call from Ethan. I don't know why Ethan is still around. Ethan is pissed at Winter because there are pictures of her and Damon kissing at the Cove the night before, like circulating around, and he saw them. This conversation makes Winter apprehensive about Damon's feelings, since she realizes that he never did say "I love you" back. Flipping back to Damon's POV, he returns to the house like 15 minutes later, expecting to find Winter still in bed, but instead she is nowhere to be found. Damon finds Crane, who tells him that Winter left to stay with Rika at St. Killian's for a couple of days. Damon is pissed that Crane let Winter leave, but Crane tells him that he didn't get the impression that she was a prisoner at this house. Damon asks Crane if Winter was upset when she left, and he tells him that she seemed so, and that she left to have some space to think. This stresses Damon out because he knows that that cannot be good for him. Damon is stressed out because he knows that things got a little out of hand the night before, but they just kind of got out of control because he had never expected her to actually be happy to see him. As Damon is stressing, Crane calls for him and sounds very alarmed. Damon then looks up to see a bunch of men storming into the house, with the last man to enter being, of course, everybody's favorite, Gabriel Torrance. Gabriel is furious at Damon's antics and has his men apprehend him. As Damon is apprehended by Gabriel's men, this happens. Quote, "As everyone left, the man behind me held onto me. An arm suddenly came around my neck as the guy in the back of me whispered in my ear. 'An eye for an eye,' he said. And then a pain hit my side under my ribs, digging into my flesh as some kind of small blade pierced my skin. I grunted, immediately feeling the blood drip out as I shot my gaze over my shoulder, seeing the asshole who did it. Miles Anderson. The guy who had Winter in his car when she was 16. The guy who also attacked Rika the same devil's night I did. He works for my father now? She's been fun to mess with these past couple of weeks," he said, as we waited for Gabriel to give us the go-ahead anyway. So, notorious villain Miles Anderson stabbed Damon. After Miles admits that Winter had been fun to mess with, Damon realizes that it was Miles Anderson in Winter's ballet studio. So he was the man that leaned in and seemed like he was gonna kiss her when Ethan went to go get Band-Aids. He was also the source of the maniacal laughter that came from the house when Winter ran out to go to Rika's. So Miles Anderson has been stalking Winter this whole time on behalf of Gabriel. He, I think, chloroforms him. Nope. They then tie Damon up and gag him and shove him in a car. As he is getting kidnapped, all Damon can do is pray that Michael and Rika will come through for him. Gabriel takes Damon to the Torrance mansion and locks him in his childhood room. Damon is bleeding profusely from his wound still, and it shows no sign of slowing down. Damon needs to get to Winter, but the blood loss is getting to him, and he passes out before he's able to escape from his room. Sometime later, Damon is woken up by Winter. Winter explains that she was on her way back to the house with Michael when they witnessed Gabriel kidnapping Damon. So they went back to regroup with the rest of the crew to form a rescue mission, and Winter tells Damon that she got in from the bathroom window, and when they head over there, they find Rika waiting to help them both out. Damon is still bleeding profusely from his stab wound, but he hasn't told either of the girls. He's trying to fight the dizziness and nausea and just get out safe with Winter and Rika, and when they escape out the window, over the roof, and into the attic, Damon falls in, exhausted from the blood loss, and he peers up to see Alex looking over him. Damon is exasperated by being saved by 3 women, but Alex just retorts and tells him, "Who's your daddy?" The girls plus Damon escape from the attic of the house and jump into a car that one of the horsemen is driving. In the car, Damon is hurt that Winter left him, and she tells him that she was barely gone 15 minutes and she just wanted space to think. Damon is like, "Ugh, what do you even need space to think about?" And he tells her that he left something for her in a room in the catacombs beneath St. Killian's. Winter is confused, telling him that she isn't missing anything. And that is when she finally notices Damon's bleeding stab wound and tells Will to take them to the hospital. And then Damon passes out again. Flipping back to Winter, we are at the hospital and the nurse is telling them that Damon has lost a bunch of blood and he needs someone to donate. And unfortunately, Winter isn't his blood type, and Banks can't donate blood because she reveals that she is pregnant. Congratulations, Queen. No time to dwell on that though, because someone steps up that happens to have the same blood type as Damon. And that is Rika. After Rika leaves to go and donate the blood, Winter overhears Kai tell Banks how unusual it is that Rika and Damon have the same blood type, since only 2% of the population has it. Back with Damon, he wakes up a few hours later to find the whole crew in the waiting room with him, and they tell Damon that Rika was the one who donated him all the blood. And Damon thanks her in his weird roundabout way, and he also tells Banks that he loves her in his weird roundabout way. He then falls asleep again, but when he wakes up, he is terrified to find Winter missing. When he regroups with the rest of the crew, they deduce that Gabriel, Miles Anderson, and co. have taken Winter and Michael hostage. Will, Rika, and Damon then haul ass out of the hospital to go and rescue them. Damon, Rika, and Will meet up with David and Lev, which are 2 of Gabriel's old henchmen that now work for Kai and Banks. As they are bickering over where Michael and Winter could be, how they can get them out, they see Gabriel's men leading Michael and Winter out of the house. Will, Damon, and Rika run to their cars to follow the bad guys as they drive Winter and Michael to God knows where. So Will and Damon are in one car and Rika is in another, and they agree to box in the car that is holding Winter and Michael and take their chance when the car starts to slow at a stoplight. Once they box the car in, they get out with their guns drawn and they manage to free both Michael and Winter. Winter gets in the car with Will and Damon. Michael and Rika get into the car and they agree to all meet back at St. Killian's. Damon then calls Crane while they're driving back and orders him to take any security left that is loyal to Damon and send them all to St. Killian's because he knows that Gabriel will need time to regroup, but he will come for them. Will, Winter, and Damon are in the car when they realize that they are being followed by Miles Anderson. They get into a car chase with Miles, which ends with them crossing over a bridge above a river when both cars crash and go over the side of the bridge into the water. Damon briefly loses consciousness, and when he comes to, he sees Will frantically trying to open the door as the car sinks deeper and deeper into the river. Will is completely freaking out, now throwing a baseball bat at the car window, and Damon tries to get both Will and Winter to calm down, telling them that they are going to have to wait for the car to equalize, which means they have to wait until the interior fills up completely with water so that there won't be any more pressure that prevents them from opening the door. Will validly does not want to do this since he has a lot of PTSD from almost drowning a couple years ago. As Will is having this panic attack, we have this exchange between the 2 of them. Quote, "We got to get out of here. I can't." He started feeling the roof and searching, looking everywhere for anything he could find, gasping in short breaths. I turned from Winter and gripped his face in my hands. "Just breathe," I told him. "Trust me, we're getting out of here." He met my eyes, starting to break down as his chin trembled. Please don't leave me." I clenched my jaw, shame washing through me all over again at what I let Trevor do to him, how I left him, how I would never have lived with it if anything had happened to him that night. I held the back of his neck and planted my forehead to his. I never did. Guys, you already know what I'm gonna say. You already know what I'm gonna say. These are two platonic friends. As the car is about to be fully filled with water, Winter asks Damon to tell her that he loves her, thinking that they are likely going to die. Damon refuses to die like this and promises her someday, right as the car is fully submerged, which is a nice little callback. Like Damon thought, the car equalizes and they are able to open the door and escape the car and swim to shore. Once they are on shore, Damon looks around for the other car that contained Miles Anderson and finds it nowhere to be seen, confirming that Miles Anderson is dead. Luckily, Winter, Damon, and Will are able to make it to St. Killian's relatively quickly on foot because it is only a short distance away. Next chapter, we're still with Damon, and he is carrying Winter and following an almost possessed acting Will, frantically trying to get into St. Killian's. Will is in full-blown panic attack mode. He is in shock. My poor baby, he is so traumatized. Will veers off and opens a secret door of sorts that takes them directly into the catacombs beneath St. Killian's. And when they enter, Damon realizes that Rika and Michael have repaired and spruced up the catacombs since they bought the abandoned, I think it's like a cathedral, to turn into their house. The trio heads into a bathroom and turn on the shower to warm up after almost drowning in the icy river. The hot water immediately helps Winter and Damon, but Will is still in total shock. Winter and Damon work together to help calm Will down, and we have another Devil's Night series threesome. Winter and Will do not sleep together, but they do other stuff with Damon also. After they're done, they're all laying in bed together and Will is fast asleep, and Damon finally tells Winter that he loves her. They're already doing great. They're already accustomed to all sleeping in a bed together. You guys, it's easy. Switching back over to Winter's POV, she wakes up the next morning and today is Devil's Night, baby. Winter realizes that she is in bed with two men, and that is when the events of the night prior come flooding back to her. I'm realizing now that maybe flooding was a poor choice of words there. Winter gets out of bed and runs into Rika and asks her to show her to the bathroom. And when they're in there, Rika asks if they are still in bed. And Winter realizes that Rika heard them last night, all three of them, and she's extremely embarrassed. Rika is helping clean Winter up and tend to her small wounds from the car crash. And Winter tells Rika that she can't imagine what she must think of her after hearing what she did with Will and Damon the night before. Rika tells Winter that she understands and that Winter does not need to explain herself to Rika. Winter realizes that Rika and Michael had a threesome, and Rika tells her that it was with Kai. Rika then asks Winter if this means she's forgiven Damon, and Winter tells her yes and then no, and that she's just been angry for so long, but she knows that she loves him. Rika then asks Winter if Winter can forgive her, and Winter is confused until Rika confesses that she is the one that gave Damon the information to take down Winter's father. Winter isn't sure how to react when Damon comes in and asks Rika to give them some time alone. Damon then tells Winter that if she can forgive him, then she can forgive Rika as well. Winter does agree. She just was very shocked by this information, but she does end up letting it go. Switching back over to Damon's POV, he is getting re-stitched by Banks because he broke all of his stitches, because apparently getting into a big giant car crash and your car flying off of a bridge into water and then having to break out of said car and swim to the shore could potentially break your stitches. Rika then approaches Damon and slams something down in front of him on the table. Damon tells Rika that they need guns if they are going to try and overthrow Gabriel, but then Rika takes her hand off of the item, revealing it to be the knife that Damon gave her as a threat all those years ago, I believe during Corrupt Era Devil's Night, and Rika tells him that it's their way. Damon is confused, but Rika says, quote, "If you want this town, we are not leading by creating a massacre in the streets. They won't fear us because we're armed. They'll fear us because we never fail." And then she goes to leave. Damon laughs and calls her Madam Mayor, and Rika just tells him to shut up on her way out. Winter then comes into the room and tells Damon that she can stay at the house with Crane while they do their heist that night. And Damon is confused why she wouldn't want to go if she's all dressed and ready, but she tells him that she'll just slow them down. Damon disagrees and tells her that he isn't in a rush and that her place is at his side now. So I'm not even stopping to be like hee hee ha ha because I just think that it's cute. Alex then walks in with tuxes and their Devil's Night masks. They won't ditch the Devil's Night masks, but in order to show that they've grown up and matured, they are gonna go from jeans and hoodies and Devil's Night masks to full tuxes and Devil's Night masks. You know what I think would make you look like you've grown up? If you stop wearing a Halloween mask in full seriousness around. A half hour later, the crew is all dressed up in their suits and Devil's Night masks and are boarding a bunch of motorcycles that Michael has somehow acquired. Each couple boards one motorcycle, with Will and Alex taking one together since neither of them are in a couple. This is why book 4 is gonna be so hard for me, because if I can't have the throuple between Will, Damon, and Winter, I really wanted Will and Alex to be endgame. And neither of these things work out for me. The gang then heads over to the town square where the Devil's Night debauchery is already in full swing. And this is the perfect place for them to pull whatever stunt they're about to pull, because there are no children allowed during this event and it is a public space with plenty of chaos that's already going on. The crew rides in their motorcycle into the middle of their crowded town square and then just starts causing quite the big hoopla. They're throwing smoke bombs and shooting paintballs just to get everybody's attention. And then once everybody's all riled up, they sneak out and park behind a tavern that they know Gabriel will be at, because he always invites his business associates to this tavern on Devil's Night. And they know that his pride will not let him miss it. It's not even really a tavern. It's a lot fancier than that. They're all in the tavern searching for Gabriel when they spot him, and they're disappointed to find out that he's not in like a private back room like they thought he would be. He's right in the middle of the action, and they need to figure out a way to get him alone. Damon and Winter walk over to confront Gabriel, and Gabriel asks Damon what he wants, and Damon just tells him that he wants him to leave Thunder Bay. Gabriel tells him that he could have so much more than Thunder Bay, but Damon just again tells him that he wants him to leave, or he will make Gabriel leave. Gabriel tells Damon that he's just the same little kid, always tough with everyone but him. To this, Damon thinks to himself, quote, "I stared at him knowing he was right. Even when I finally started opening my mouth and talking to people as a kid, beating down whatever tried to beat me down, hurting others so I wouldn't hurt, he was the one I feared because I needed him. How much worse would it have been for me without his money and influence to protect me? At a certain point, I started wondering, did I behave the way I did because I could? Or did I behave the way I did because it was the only thing keeping me alive in that house?" Commotion started filling the room as I held his eyes, and I knew, without a doubt, with my friend's back and Winter with me, that nothing he could threaten me with would change my course of action. I didn't need him, his money, or his protection. I just wanted him gone. As they're talking, blue smoke from the smoke bombs starts filling the room. As the smoke gets so thick, they can barely see each other. Somebody bumps into Winter, sending Damon lurching forward and Winter onto the ground. Damon then turns to help Winter to make sure she's okay, but when he turns back, he sees that his father has disappeared. He looks up to see him escaping up the stairs towards the roof, and Winter jumps on his back as they run after Gabriel. Damon, Winter, Michael, Rika, Kai, Banks, Will, and Alex all spill onto the roof, catching up to Gabriel. Gabriel's guard turns to shoot at them, but Rika knocks him out before she can. Gabriel walks up to confront his father once and for all, and he is out of earshot from the rest of his friends. Gabriel just continues to reinforce that he is an evil, irredeemable man who feels no guilt over anything that he has done. Damon takes out a knife, but Gabriel isn't worried and assures him that he won't kill him. And then this happens. Quote, "I wouldn't lose control if I were you," he said quickly. "You have to keep me alive. How else will I change my will to include you again?" And I stopped. Amusement crinkled his eyes as he waited for me to process. I didn't care about the money, but if not me, then who? Banks is more of a son than you ever were. I really should have known better. That kid was born in the gutter. Strength comes from trial. You only ever indulged. You get that weakness from your mother. I looked behind me at my sister, who had removed her mask. She looked at me, concerned. "Banks," I said under my breath, "is my sole heir. I changed my will last year. She's responsible, hardworking, and intelligent. She won't drive my life's work into the ground. If you're good and get back in line, I'll change it back. It's kind of ironic, actually, that I put all my faith and energy into you for so long, believing a daughter could never be what a son could be. And as of right now, it looks like your sisters will be the ones with the real power in Thunder Bay, not you." Sisters? I looked at him, confused, as a slow, vile grin spread across his face. What was he talking about? I only had one sister. Damon turns around to face both of his sisters, Banks and Rika. Yes, Rika is Damon's half sister. After his father says this, Damon assumes that him and Rika share the same father, but no, they share the same mother. Rika's mother. So that is why Mrs. Fane looked so shocked to see Damon at the engagement party. Also, this doesn't make it any better, but just for clarity, that would mean that the woman that abused Damon his entire childhood is not his biological mother. Rika's mother became pregnant with Damon because Gabriel forced himself on Mrs. Fane. So it was not a consensual relationship between the two of them. Damon's father is truly the devil. Rika mentions in Corrupt that her mother was depressed and had substance abuse problems. We now know that this was likely due to what Gabriel put her through. Gabriel also tells Damon that he found out that Mr. and Mrs. Fane planned on telling Damon the truth of his parentage when he turned 18. And that is why he orchestrated Mr. Fane's accidental death. Once again, no one is hearing this conversation except for Damon and Gabriel. So none of the crew know all of this lore that Gabriel has just dropped on Damon. After finding all of this out, Damon thinks to himself, quote, I could have had a different life. Christine would have been different. I would have had good parents. She wanted me even after what my father did to her. Her husband wanted me anyway. What if she didn't like what she was seeing? What if that's why she never approached me? What if she saw me growing up and thought I was turning out exactly like him? What if she was scared of me? It's so, you guys, like, it's so sad. Damon looks at his father and refuses to ever let him get his hands on any future grandchildren and ruin their childhood like he did to him and Banks. Once he makes this decision and he makes peace with this, Gabriel is still just rambling on to Damon when mid-sentence, Damon stabs Gabriel in the stomach and he dies. Yes. Getting rid of two evil men in one book, love. 2 books was more than enough time spent in the presence of you. Like I said, nobody knows what is going on in this conversation, and they had never discussed that Damon was going to murder his father out of nowhere. So the crew is quite confused. Later, as the coroner is taking Gabriel's body away, Damon locks eyes with Rika. Damon decides that this discussion about them being siblings can be for another day. He just tells Rika, quote, one down, the rest is on you. So we've just got Mr. Chris left to deal with. Later, Damon is led into the police station for questioning since he did indeed just murder his father. And as he is waiting, a man in a suit comes in with a cop, and the man introduces himself as Monroe Kaysen, while the cop comes over and unlocks Damon's handcuffs. When he makes eye contact with Monroe, he follows his gaze up to the security camera in the room and then sees the power light go off. After it's off, Monroe takes out the knife that was used to kill Gabriel, and it is now completely clean of both blood and fingerprints. Monroe tells Damon that he is happy to destroy the knife, but thought that he would want to see it destroyed himself. He then tells Damon that he is free to go. Damon is shocked, asking why he's doing this, and Monroe responds with, quote, no one will mourn your father. In fact, there are many who are quite happy and grateful that he's gone. The testimony is that you and your friends showed up to a parade to celebrate. When you arrived, one of your father's disgruntled employees had done him in, and you found him lying in his blood up on the roof. Damon looks at the paper that Monroe shows him, seeing that everyone has already signed this statement, and Damon asks about his father's guards, but Monroe just tells him, quote, they are now on your sister's payroll, as she is the sole heir of your father's estate. She assures me that she has your house under control. Damon asks Monroe who is paying him to help him, but Monroe just tells him that it's someone who wants to give him a chance. Hearing this, Damon realizes that it was Mrs. Fane. It's good, you guys, like, I love it. Just 1 week later, things have already shifted significantly in Thunder Bay. It was almost like a changing of the guard. With Gabriel's death, the Horsemen and Rika came into power. Damon is on his way into a theater where Winter is practicing for the tour that Michael and Rika are sponsoring for her. You'd think that the You're like, please not this again. You think that the rendition of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch at their engagement party would have put them off, but apparently they liked it so much that they are bankrolling her to go on tour. Winter finishes practicing and changes, and on their way out of the theater, she offers to sell some of the art and furniture at the Ashby house, but Damon assures her that he will find a job, and a legit job, because Damon never got written back into his father's will, so Damon doesn't have any of his father's money. Just then, Damon gets a call from a man who appraised the Ashby house, and the man tells Damon that his family loved the treehouse and the fountain that Damon had built, and this man who appraised the house asks Damon to come and design something similar for him. It looks like Damon's going to be a contractor now. Later that night, while Winter is away with Alex, Damon gets a knock at his door, and it is Mrs. Fane and Rika. Mrs. Fane confirms to Damon that she is indeed his biological mother, but in kind of like a roundabout way, so Rika is still confused. She doesn't know for sure. Damon tells Mrs. Fane that he does not need a mother, but he does have plenty of use for Rika. Rika isn't sure what he means, but Damon turns and tells her, quote, "I told you you'd never escape me. We're going to rule the world, Rika. You, Banks, and me." 3 months later, Damon gets a text from Will, who is living it up in Rio, and Damon thinks to himself, quote, "In the nearly 3 months since Devil's Night, we had gotten him clean but not dry, and as Kai, Michael, and I settled into the holidays, our homes, our women, and our work, he broke away and did some traveling. He said he needed a change of scenery, but he's been gone a while, and although the pictures looked great and he looked happy, I knew he was spinning and spinning until he eventually lost his balance and fell. Now that he was 24, his family would only tolerate the self-destruction for so much longer before they cut him off and made him come home." This is foreshadowing into book 4. Damon is currently trying to quit smoking because Winter asked him to, and he walks over to her and we find out that Winter is pregnant. And her tour also went great, and she already has new shows lined up for when after their baby is born. And our book ends with Damon and Winter happy with their first baby on the way. And that is it for book 3 of the Devil's Night series. I know that this was a very, very long one, so I appreciate everybody sticking with me. I had such a fun time getting to recap this for you guys. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I have already started on my script for book 4, so that will be coming up next, so keep an eye out for that. And I just want to thank everyone so much again for your support and for your positive feedback on book 2. I hope you like this one as well, and I will see you soon to close out the series with book 4. Bye!